Hi there. This video is an exam paper walkthrough of the Eduqas GCSE Mathematics Higher Tier Component 2 paper from autumn 2023. This paper is worth 120 marks in total, and this is the 6th video of 6. It will focus on questions 21 to 23, which account for 14 of these marks. Eduqas Component 2 papers are calculator papers, so a calculator should be used. A little disclaimer: there may be more than one way to answer a question. The methods shown in this video are not the only way some mathematical skills can be applied. Okay, let's get started. Question 21. For two events A and B, the probability of A union B is 0.66. The probability of A intersection B is 0.07. And the probability of A and not B is 0.31. Part A, by completing the Venn diagram or otherwise, so you don't have to use the Venn diagram, find the probability that B occurs and A does not occur. Now I am going to use the Venn diagram because it's a really useful tool to organise information that I'm given. Okay, so let's think about what these mean. So A union B, so the probability of it being in A or in B is 0.66. So that doesn't help us at the minute, but it will help us eventually. The probability of A intersection B is 0.07. Now that intersection B is the middle part of the diagram. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to put 0.07 in the middle there. Okay. So the probability that it's in A union B is equal to 0.66. So the probability that it's anywhere in this diagram is equal to 0.66. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to look at is this probability. So this is the probability that it's in A, but it's not also in B. That's what the complement means. So it's in A and not in B. So this is the in B bit, but if it's in A and not in B, this must be 0.31. Now we're going to go back to this probability here. So the probability of A union B is 0.66. The probability that's within these circles is 0.66. So I'm going to do 0.66, subtract 0.31, subtract 0.07. So 0.66, subtract 0.31, subtract 0.07 is equal to 0.28. So this must be 0.28. Probabilities have to add to 1. So this here is 1 subtract all of these. So 1 subtract 0.31, subtract 0.07, subtract 0.28. Is 0.34. Okay, so I've completed the Venn diagram. I'm now going to find the probability that they're interested in. So the probability that B occurs and A does not occur. So we want the probability that it's in B, but it's not in A. Well, that's just this section of the Venn diagram here, because the middle bit is also in A, but this bit is just in B. So the probability that B occurs and A does not occur is 0.28. Now you could have done that without completing the whole diagram, but I like to complete my thought processes. Part B, find the probability that it's in A or not in B. Okay, so to do this, I'm just going to draw a few little diagrams to explain it to you. Please ignore my attempt at drawing Venn diagrams. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split this probability up into 2 Venn diagrams so you can visualize what's happening here, guys. So I want it to be in A. So what I am interested in is anything that's inside the A circle. So the probability that it's in A or the probability that it's not in B. So not in B would be the whole of the diagram apart from anything within the B circle. Told you my diagrams are rubbish. Okay. So when I compare those two things, the whole of A is coloured in here. So the only thing that's not coloured in is this part of B here. So that's the bit that I'm interested in. So I'm going to do probability sum to 1, subtract this probability, which is 0.28. 1 subtract 0.28 is 0.72. So that's the probability that we're looking for. (22a), write y equals x squared subtract 4x subtract 1 in the form here where a and b are constant. So we are completing the square, guys. So when we're completing the square, we've got our x. The a inside the bracket here is half of the coefficient of the x term. So half of -4 is -2. That bracket is all squared. When we're completing the square, the first thing we need to do is square this value inside. So -2 squared is 4. I have to subtract that from the outside, but I also remember that there's a -1 on the end here. So now I'm going to simplify this. So I have my bracket of x subtract 2 all squared, -4 subtract 1. I know that that's -5, but if you're not sure, stick it in your calculator, guys. And that's our final answer. A and B are both constants. Part B. On the diagram below shows a sketch of y equals f of x. This is y equals f of x. On the same diagram, sketch y equals f of x subtract 2. Mark clearly any coordinates of any intercepts with the axes. So these coordinates here are our intercepts. So when we sketch our new diagram, those are the coordinates that we're going to label, but in their new position. So this is transformations of graphs. So when we're working with inside of the brackets with the x, it's the x coordinates that are changing. The y coordinates stay the same. And the x coordinates change, but they do the opposite to what's in the bracket. So this says subtract 2, so everything's going to shift to the right 2. Normally, a -2 in a translation, for example, would mean we go left. But because it's a graph transformation, we're dealing with the x-coordinate, we do the opposite. So everything's going to go right 2 places on the x-axis. So this coordinate here is currently at -2. If I move 2 places to the right, that coordinate is going to become 0, 0. So the y stays the same, it's the x that changes. Let's look at this coordinate then, guys. So we're at +2. If we go another 2 to the right, we're going to be at 4. The y coordinate stays the same. Let's look at this y-intercept here then. The x coordinate is 0. We're going to go across 2 places, so it's going to be level with this one, but we're still going to be at -1. So it's going to be at 2, -1. And then we're going to draw, as best as we can, our curve through those points. So that is that first transformation done. Okay, the next part. So the diagram below shows a sketch of y equals gx. On the same diagram, sketch y equals g -x. Mark clearly any coordinates of intercepts with the axes. So we've got 2 points of intercept with the axes here. They're the coordinates that we're going to mark clearly. But what does y equals g of -x means? This is a reflection, but it's a reflection in the y-axis. Okay, so this time it's a reflection in the y-axis. So the change is still happening to the x coordinate, but we're reflecting it across the y-axis. Now this point here, this point of intersection, is what we call invariant. It's not going to change. It's going to keep its position. Okay, guys, that's the important thing to remember. However, this point is going to flip across the x-axis, so it's going to mirror on this side. So instead of being at 5, 0, it's going to be at, let's pop it here, -5, 0. It's a reflection across the x. Okay, so we now need to draw that line. These are straight lines, so please use a ruler. Don't worry too much about the gradient of that line. Just make sure that it looks similar and that you've got that new coordinate. So remember, it's the x coordinate that's changing, but because it's a negative x, we're reflecting in the y-axis because we're changing the sign of the x coordinate. Question 23. The graph below shows a circle centred at the origin. So here's a graph of a circle with the centre at the origin. Part A, write down the equation of the circle shown on the graph above. So equation of the circle with a centre at the origin, we start with x squared add y squared equals, and it equals the radius squared, guys, okay? So because it's the radius squared, we're going to look at our circle. So the radius is halfway. So it's from the centre of the circle, and we've been told the centre is the origin, to the circumference. So from 0 to 5, the radius is 5. So our equation of this circle is x squared plus y squared equals 5 squared. So x squared plus y squared equals 25. Part B, find the coordinates of the point of intersection of the tangent to the circle above at 0, 5 and the line y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, tangent to the circle at 0, 5. So the tangent to the circle, if I just draw that on roughly for you, that at the point 0, 5 is going to be this tangent here. Now the equation of that line is y equals 5. It's a horizontal line through the y-axis. So the equation of the tangent to the circle is y equals 5. We want the point of intersection of this y equals 5 with this line y equals 2x plus 3. So they're both in terms of y. So to get the point of intersection, let's write them equal to each other and solve for x. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So 2x equals 2. And then we're going to divide by 2. Remember inverse operations. When we divide by 2, we get x equals 1. So we have our x coordinate as 1. We need to find our y coordinate. If we know x is 1, we can substitute it into this equation to find y. So y equals 2 times 1 because x is 1 plus 3. Well, y equals 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. So our y coordinate is 5.